One of the most detailed and intricate leaks for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet may have just dropped. I'm serious, this thing is wild, and we're gonna break it all down in this video. Let's take a look. All right, so I was scrolling Twitter as I normally do, and I came across this post, and it includes a paste spin that is very, very detailed. I'm not kidding. This thing outlines pretty much the entirety of the Blueberry Academy Indigo Disk DLC, and talks about the new Pokemon, talks about the new moves that they're adding to the game, things that are returning, all sorts of stuff. And it goes into, like I said, extreme detail, which oftentimes can be a sign that maybe it's not real. But I think the way that it's laid out and formatted leads me to believe that there's a chance that this might actually have some substance to it. So as always, we're gonna proceed with a little bit of caution, but I think it's worth hearing out for sure. Like, there's some wild stuff in here. So we're gonna dive in, we're gonna break it all down. I'm gonna read the whole post, I'm gonna talk about it. So let's have some fun. Be sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and let's dive in. Hello, I'm an employee for Pokemon Company International. My coworkers and I are working on and publishing the English and Spanish articles for updating websites and the rule sets for both the official singles and doubles ladder and official VGC rules for online competition. So they kind of start things off by saying that they have some insider connections here. They go on to say that, you know, they know what some of these things do in advance. They know some things for things that are not in English. This person says, I don't personally know many things other than in English, though. Many old Pokemon are returning, as well as a few Pokemon being introduced for the first time. In total, there's 242 entries in the Blueberry Academy Pokedex, with a Master Pokedex of 744 entries. And I'm going to outline the different Pokemon and all that good stuff. Here we go. First thing, we got Archaludon, Steel and Dragon, Hydrapple, Bug and Dragon, which goes against the post that we covered the other day. Could be our first ever Bug Dragon, which would line up with some of the stuff that Riddler Q had been saying. Raging Bolt, Electric and Dragon, and Storming Ash, Fire and Dragon. The first thing that jumped out to me with this leak is, or potential leak, I should say, is Storming Ash felt like a really good name, right? I felt like that was a really good name for what this could be. Iron Crown, and then Iron Tines is Rock and Psychic. So that's something to note there. And then Terapagos, its various forms, one being Rock and Normal, one being Rock and Dragon, and then this 19th type that we've been waiting for is apparently called Jewel, which, again, doesn't sound all that crazy to me. Again, the more I read this, the more I was like, you know what, I could see that being real. And then the last Pokemon, the kind of the Dokutaru Peach Pokemon is named Doku Momo, which is a little weird, but let's not pretend like we haven't had some strange names, especially as we look at, kind of Scarlet and Violet. That being a Poison and Ghost type, saying their stats and abilities will be included at the end, so we'll get to that later. And then saying that there's actually 2 new terrestrial states, like Terapagos has, but this is for Koraidon and Miraidon, and they get Jewel and Flying typing and Jewel and Steel typing. As far as I can tell, they're the only terrestrial states there are, and they act purely as Flying or Steel types respectively. This is probably a reference to their Paradox names, Winged King and Iron Serpent, which are the names for these forms. They keep their original abilities. So saying Koraidon and Miraidon are going to be the only other Pokemon that get access to this Jewel typing that Terapagos has, and they have Paradox names, Winged King and Iron Serpent. Let's touch base on the 19th Terra type, as it's important and certain moves rely on it. We actually know the localized name in every European language, and it was supposed to be revealed along the type itself during the world presentation, but it's called the Jewel Terra type according to this. It's effectively a typeless actual type. Terrestrializing into it will boost everything else, but the exact value is unknown, and Jewel will also gain Stab. Jewel is only weak and strong against Jewel. So it's kind of like this typeless thing that does gain boost on moves that are Jewel type. They'll get Stab, but Jewel type is only really good against Jewel type, so it seems like it'll be more defensive in nature. For moves, certain Pokemon existing in Scarlet and Violet can learn new moves through relearners, breeding, or TMs. That seems pretty standard. The new moves range from good to great with little in between. I don't believe any of them are truly less than at least a good option. There's 15 new moves in total, and a new variant of Terra Blast acting as one, and we'll talk about those later, but Electro Shot, Hard Press, Hold Still, Intoxicate, Jewel Burst, Love Bite, Psychic Noise, Supercharged Cell, Tachyon Cutter, Tasing Crash, Tephra Storm, Terra Blast, which is the Jewel version, Terra Luminescence, Thunderclap, Upper Hand, and Venom Hurl. And some of those have already been revealed. So some of those are new. Some of them, like Thunderclap, have already been revealed through other posts. Like with the Pokemon, I'll include their types, powers, accuracies, and stuff at the end. So we'll get back to that. Then there's 28 TMs that are coming back, and some of these are moves that were cut and then coming back. So one of the big ones that I read from people's criticism of this post was Pursuit was on this list. But I don't necessarily think that's the end of the world. I think Pursuit could come back, right? It obviously changes a lot of competitive Pokemon. But you've got Curse, Pursuit, Parting Shot, Mystical Fire, Life Dew, Snap Trap, Feint, Skydrop, Roost, Breaking Swipe, Spirit Break, Strength Sap as a TM, which would be kind of nuts, Ally Switch, Terrain Pulse, Rising Voltage, Skitter Smack, Corrosive Gas, Coaching, Triple Axle, Scorching Sands, Expanding Force, Steel Roller, Meteor Beam, Love Bite, Upper Hand, Psychic Noise, Supercharged Cell, and Hard Press, some of the new moves. Honestly speaking, some of them will have pretty limited distributions, like Scald, with its distribution being Slap, despite Slash being a TM. Unlike the move data, I'll be not including in-depth learn sets for these. There's over 700 Pokemon in the game, so I'm not going to include all of that. But again, this does get super duper detailed. Now there's some new abilities, one of which is Toxic Influence. This is Hydrapple's signature ability, and it gives it the poison typing permanently. This is indicating that Hydrapple is going to be the new evolution of Diplin, and it's going to go to Bug, Dragon, and Poison because of its ability. That would be really cool, actually. Then you've got Terrestrial Crystal, one of Terapagos' abilities. This one can't be nullified by neutralizing gas, it can't be overwritten, and it can't be copied and taken. We do know from Riddler Coup that the baby Terapagos can't have its ability affected by neutralizing gas. It makes base Terapagos transform, but it doesn't take one of your Terrastellation slots. The exact requirement needed, or if it's just doable as it enters battle, is unknown. So this seems to be like a simple form change that takes place, much like the primals, like Primal Kyogre and Groudon. It seems like you can just throw this thing out there into battle, the little baby turtle, and it's gonna immediately turn into Terapagos. The baby turtle really only functions as something that you can have in Pokemon Camp, which again aligns with what Riddler Coup had said. Elemental Shell, another of Terapagos' abilities. This one adds a type to its existing typing randomly at the end of each turn, replacing the last. This is a really cool ability. I spent some time mulling over this idea, and I thought it was really sick. This idea, like, we've had something similar with Color Change and Kecleon in the past, but this idea that you could essentially have this Pokemon out there on the field, and its typing will change at the end of every turn, and then your opponent has to try to deal with that, but, like, you can't predict what it's going to be. That could create some nightmares for opponents, I'm not going to lie. And then Type Shield, this is ability for a Pokemon that exists now. It makes Terapagos take 3/4 damage from any type. The third is probably for the terrestrial form Terapagos, and the second to last is likely for the third form. So saying that these are likely to be, tied to Terapagos. Type Shield makes Terapagos take 3/4 damage from any type, which would be insane. But again, we do know from the leaks that we've had that Terapagos is a more defensive-oriented Pokemon. So the name of the form is Terragenesis. It achieves it by terrestrializing, which is weird because it already kind of is. Anyway, it seems that the normal form for base Terapagos is accurate and that the terrestrial form is accurate. It's like normal typing is what terrestrialization is in a weird way. Both the alternative forms have base stat increases, which is unlike Ogerpon or the Dragons. As expected, anything new from this update will not be allowed in Regulation E, except moves learnable through relearning or breeding. Here's a list of returning Pokemon, and then it's just a big text list of a bunch of different Pokemon that are returning. I'm not going to go too in-depth in that because there's so much more for us to talk about right now, but you're welcome to see the paste bin in the comment section below or in the description below to take a look yourself and kind of match up the numbers and see where they align with Pokemon that you're looking for. This list includes Pokemon that aren't in the Blueberry Academy. I can't promise there's going to be a way to get everything natively. I don't know myself, but going forward into Regulation F, everything but restricted legendaries and mythicals will be legalized. For example, Walking Wake and Iron Leaves will finally be legalized, but Koraidon and Miraidon will not be. We know nothing about new items other than 2 held items from Miraidon and Koraidon that boost their stats, each when terrestrialized. They are refined from 2 ores, the Scarlet Crown and the Violet Crown. Now, if you guys remember way back from data mine leaks for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, there were 2 items that were left over, very much so that this could be talking about that. The poster goes on to talk about what that boost could be, but they said, I heard through the grapevine that there's a mystery box that apparently is evolving Meltan into Melmetal, but I have no idea if this is true. The last thing I'll say before getting to the stats and moves, we don't usually get to see the Pokemon themselves, what they look like, but along with that big trailer reveal at Worlds, they were supposed to reveal Hydrapple, since people would find out that Diplin evolves. I'll try to draw it to the best of my ability before posting. I don't think we have the drawing of that, but nonetheless, I don't think that that's super relevant. But they did post the new Pokemon stats, and we have Archaludon here as a Steel Dragon. Looks like it's got a really high special attack, really good attack stat, decent, kind of HP and bulk, but its special defense and speed are pretty low, so it seems as though very similar to Duraludon with, I think, a little bit more bulk there. Hydrapple has its Toxic Influence ability with Liquid Ooze or Sticky Hold, and it looks like this is, again, a slow Pokemon that has a really high special attack and attack stat. Raging Bolt, very bulky, naturally bulky, decent speed, but its attack stat is really what stands out there. Storming Ash has the really high attack stats, pretty slow, and overall relatively bulky. Iron Crown, very high special attack stat, good speed, decent bulk, I would say. Iron Tines has an absolutely absurd attack stat, like, oh my god, 168 attack. That sounds insane with decent bulk. I would say middle bulk and good speed. If that's real, dude, that's like Rampardos, but on steroids, dog. Terapagos has crazy attack and special attack, but low speed, but it has really low defenses. And what's interesting here, when I look at the Terapagos normal form, with its defenses being so low, it almost has like the inverse of Shuckle. And what's interesting is Riddler had just made a post the other day showcasing Terapagos and Shuckle and saying that they're similar, or that there was a comparison between the two. So I'm wondering if this is actually tied to that. I don't know which came first, right? The chicken or the egg, right? Did this paste bin come first, or Riddler post come first? But either way, I just happen to think that those two did line up. Then you've got the Rock and Dragon Terrastal form, and that's where its stats start to creep up, right? It's got crazy good HP base. It's got, you know, good attack and defenses all around. And then its Terragenesis form looks like it may have some of the best stats in the game minus its speed. Crazy good stats all around. Defenses are crazy. Special attack is crazy. Attack is crazy. All that stuff is nuts. And then Doku, Momo, Poison, and Ghost with Toxic Chain and Levitate potentially, which could be nuts. Looks like this is very similar to Gengar. Looks like it's pretty average all around with 88 speed. Then we've got our new moves, and this is some really cool stuff here. Electro Shot, 130 base power electric special move. The user charges its energy and boosts its special attack for the first turn, then fires off a blast in the next turn. Looks like Meteor, I think it's Meteor Blast, Meteor Shot. I forget what the move is, but it's a rock move, I think, that you charge and then attack. This looks like it's going to a handful of different Pokemon, like Archaludon, Vikavolt, Genesect, Magnezone, etc. Hard Press is a Steel-type move that's physical, that slams. The more HP you have left, the greater the move's power. Nothing too crazy there. Metagross, Tyranitar, Corviknight, Tinkaton, a handful of different Pokemon get that. Hold Still, the user attacks first to suppress the target and make it go last, also trapping it in the process. It also works in the first turn of each time. This could be really good. The idea that you can hit something with a priority move, stop their, delay their attack, and then prevent them from switching out further could be really good. It kind of reminds me of like Quash. I think there's some value here. Annihilate, Iron Hands, Urshifu, Grimmsnarl, Rillaboom, Incineroar, of course, handful of different Pokemon getting that. Intoxicate, the user inflicts a strange toxin onto the Pokemon, dealing super effective damage against fairy types. This may also leave them confused, and that's a ghost type move. So this might be Doku Taru's signature move, a ghost type move that hits fairies super effectively, which could be kind of sick. And that is Doku Momo's. Jewel Burst, the user Crystal Shell shatters, shooting shards towards the opposing Pokemon. It always deals super effective damage against any target. That's Terapagos' signature move, and it's very powerful if it always hits super effectively. Love Bite is a new TM distribution that playfully bites the target. It's a fairy physical move. It always, if they're opposite gender, it'll deal more damage to them. So that's got some distribution of things like Screamtail, Whimsicott, Hisuian Arcanine, Growlithe, etc., Granbull. So that may have some use, probably not a ton though. Psychic Noise, this user telepathically tortures the target with auditory hallucinations. This prevents the uses of any moves, abilities, or held items that recover HP. So that could stop leftovers, which could be kind of sick for psychic attackers. Looks like that's going to go out to like Hisuian Zoroark, Gothitelle, Screamtail. That could end up being useful. Monkey Dory. Supercharged Cell, this is one of the moves that I thought was the most interesting from the list. It's you charge energy on the first turn and then you boost all your stats on the next turn. So it depends, like, does it prevent you from attacking the second turn? I don't know, but getting an Omni boost could be really nuts. So the Voltorbs get it, or the Electrodes, Metagross, Magnezone, Rotom, Vikavolt, some legendaries, Iron Moth. I think that could be really good. It just depends on, like, do you boost, like, you activate the attack and then the following turn you get the boost and that's it? Or do you activate the attack and then you get the boost and then you get to attack again in the second turn? Tachyon Cutter, it attacks with Ethereal Horns. It always hits twice in a row. That does 40 damage. That's Iron Crowns. Tasing Crash, a rock move. The user slams into the target with charged horns, and it has a chance to leave them with paralysis, and it looks like it does recoil damage. Tephra Storm is a dragon type move. It erupts with a cloud of ash to rain down, and it may also leave them with a burn. So Storming Ash getting a move that is a dragon type move that can burn, which is kind of cool. We've seen moves like Scald function that way. Terra Blast is the Jewel type. It unleashes energy of all 18 types. It inflicts typeless damage using the attack or special attack, whichever is higher. And then you've got Terra Luminescence, a Jewel move. It gleams with the splendor of every type, dealing super effective damage against any target. The user can't move in the next turn, so kind of like a Hyper Beam type of deal. And then Thunderclap, 80 base power. It surprises the target and attacks first. It fails if the target is not ready an attack, so kind of like Sucker Punch. Upper Hand is a fighting type move. You attack first, make them flinch. It fails if they're not attacking otherwise. And then last but not least is Hydrapple. It hurls sticky sludge that coats the target and traps it. It always leaves them badly poisoned. So this could be nuts, right? Like this idea that you could trap them, poison them, and like badly poison them and hit them pretty hard with that. And if you have that ability that gives you stab too, and your bug dragon and poison, that's like really solid. So I know this was a huge post to go over, and obviously there's the chance that this is all just made up, but whoever did this put in a lot of effort. So I gotta at least give some validity to that, right? And I think that everything in this post seemed like it could most certainly be a thing. Like I really think that it could be a thing, and we're not that far away, right? Like it's very realistic that people have their hands on the information at this point, and they're preparing different guides and different things like that. We know that a bunch of different press outlets just got access to the DLC, so there's a chance that this is real. So let me know your thoughts. Again, take it with a grain of salt as we always do, but I'm curious to hear what you think in the comments section below. That's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by A-Drop, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.